Can you guys introduce mommy?
Spill the beans with Dr. Jill.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining on today's episode of Spill the Beans with Dr. Jill. As always, I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Ivory Raye. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Trinidad, Colorado, and I also do personal development, threshold work, and spiritual work with people. So I'm extremely excited to be here and to spend time with Dr. Jill.
Oh, it's so exciting to see you. So, how many years would you say you've been in school to get the expertise that you have?
A solid 10 years.
Oh,
And that's not any of the extra stuff. That's
right.
just what it took to get to the you can take the test point.
Right. In those years, did anyone ever teach you about vicarious trauma?
I would say that trauma came up. I feel really blessed that sometimes I get like key people in my life. I wouldn't say there was ever a course, to be clear, but there were key people that talked about the importance of trauma and also like the mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies and how they impact the physical body. So, not vicarious trauma, but it's something I'm semi-familiar with. And also, I've been lucky to have people who know that it's never just the physical body and that we always need to look at all aspects of the people we're working with.
Interesting. It's a very similar answer that we have gotten from other practitioners. What about self-care? Did any teachers or anyone talk to you about self-care?
That would be 100% yes.
Yeah.
Not every teacher, but it was definitely a more common topic that we spoke of. And I think self-care is really interesting because it sounds one way, but it can really mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Um, it's starting to remember that you are part of the equation and that you should take care of yourself if you're going to take care of others, and that can look a lot of different ways. But I would say it was a pretty strong topic in naturopathic medicine because it's not just about somebody comes to us and we give them a pill for something. We're really trying to understand what the person on the other side of the table or maybe in the chair next to you really needs.
Mhm.
And a lot of that time, it's educating them on how to understand what's happening in their body, in their mind, and then how to support that. So self-care can be a part of that.
Teach me what I know and what I was taught, and let me know if it's true. That a naturopathic doctor isn't just going to look at the symptoms, but maybe the causations.
Yes.
Okay.
The
So
key phrase is the root cause.
love it. Love it. So if
Yeah.
I were to say that vicarious trauma has a lot of indicators that look like symptoms, right? Like there's stress, there's a whole list of them that I give out during my workshop, but that a lot of the practitioners don't understand that those symptoms or indicators of vicarious trauma really are because they're not managing their vicarious trauma. You would be able to get behind that because not only is it what your science teaches you, but you've lived it. You've seen what that looks like. Can you talk a little bit about how vicarious trauma might come out for you?
So usually what I do is we're always gauging where a person is and what they're comfortable talking about. So my first visits with patients or coaching clients is about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half, never to be rushed because people are important. And
Mhm.
it's all about relationship building and then looking for pattern recognition, right? So I'll do the like, we're going to talk about your physical body so we understand what the systems are saying. But just so you know, a lot of things are connected. So please know that everything that happens here is confidential and also that I'm here to really support you in the way that's right for you. So, if people are having a lot of sleep issues, indicators that stress is high, which is really a lot of people right now, for being honest. And if there's something that happened and it got very worse after a specific time period, then I'll work around how can we talk about what may have led up to it. I will say, and I don't know if it's me or if this people are just seeing it more, that at least half of the women that come into my office, I do see men as well, but it's a predominantly adult women practice, have had some type of trauma. And usually it comes out pretty easily. And I'd say it's probably more than that as far as what people will talk to me about. And that often happens even in the first visit.
Yeah, so that ripple effect, that PTSD, that's what the patient, the client, the student, that's what they're experiencing. You're treating them. In order to treat them, you're hearing these stories. When you're done with that client and that patient, how are you getting back to your normal and checking in with yourself?
Oh, okay, awesome. As far as me taking care of me,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I might have taken a lot more stuff home with me than I do now.
Mm.
Um, I show up fully during the time that I'm there, and there's the understanding that if somebody needs me, they can reach out. Beyond that, unless there's something I think I need to do as far as safety is concerned, I kind of trust that the person has what they need to get started, and then I'll generally check in to see if anything else is needed.
Yeah. It's
So.
so interesting because this series, we've been focusing on the medical practitioners, and a lot of it is, yeah, I can't handle somebody's vicarious trauma because I'm dealing with their trauma. So I'm serving them first. And then by the time I need to go to my next client, I haven't even been able to process how I felt from that last patient. Have you had any moments where you've been able to manage your own calendar or say, I need a break because it's best for me?
So my whole practice is based that way. My practice is so a lot of times doctors, practitioners, they stack their calendar and it's pretty tight from appointment to appointment. Um, I've tried that. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good to me. I think that because the way that I interact with patients is so full and so present and so much about the relationship that for me, it always makes sense to leave like a 15 to 30-minute block in between so that there's that time and space to one, just, take care of yourself, self-care, go to the restroom, have a cup of tea, get a glass of water, have a snack if you need to, move your body a little bit. But also if you need to take a moment to kind of, we'll say energetically or have a physical practice to clear kind of what you heard, you have that space and time to do that. I would also say, which is maybe not normal for everybody, but highly recommended, is that you can this is going to sound weird, but like energetically protect yourself. Like you can still show up fully for someone without allowing yourself to then carry what you've received, right? So it's a place where you hold space without taking on somebody else's trauma. And so it's it's not a natural instinct. It's something you have to work on, but you can be fully present, supportive, and loving, and not take home somebody else's trauma with you.
It's a technique that has to be practiced. And I love that you're sharing this because in previous episodes, I talk about protective factors. Those are things, boundary settings that you can do as a product of your profession. And then other people ask me, like, how do you make sure you're not numb? How do you make sure that you don't tone it out or become hypervigilant? And I'm like, it is a practice. But the first step is acknowledging kind of like the lack of a better word, I use like the crap that comes to you. And it could be good crap or bad crap. It doesn't matter, but it's just sticking to you. You have to wash it off before you can go to the next client. And so many practitioners don't have what you have created, which is they have like time. I have to meet with the next, I have to go, I have to go. And I'm like, that is not helping your brain to kind of go back. So you've already created these practices with where you're working. So I love that you're sharing the importance of that because as I tell everybody in our episodes, we don't rehearse, right? This is, I'm just
No.
asking you what you know and what you do. What are your rituals? And you're giving me these gems organically. And so I so appreciate that. What do you do for fun that you know helps your vicarious trauma?
I love to dance. So I sometimes will just dance by myself at the house. We have a local event that happens twice a month that's like really dance if you need to get it get that kind of movement and that kind of like out of your mind and into your body rhythm because a lot of times we just have to find the way that we find our flow state. So that's different for everyone. For me, dancing is one of the ways that I can find flow state. So it's not in mind, it's in body, and it's kind of like more of connected to energy. For somebody else, it could be surfing or skateboarding or exercising or lifting weights, right? So you find your place where you can let the mind drift away and just be in that kind of like the very present moment that you're in. I also like to go for walks in nature. So that is nice because there's always something offered back. You get to connect with the trees and the flowers. And, where I live, I see a lot of deer. So that's really beautiful. And so I would say those are the things that are fun. And I really get a lot out of my personal relationships. Like I have some really beautiful close friends. And so just having time to, in a heart-centered way, connect is kind of how I fill up.
That's wonderful. One of the things I talk about is when we don't do these things that you're suggesting and we let the vicarious trauma go into burnout, that it's very difficult to get out of burnout. What advice do you have, if any, if you feel like there's a lot of assessment tools that I have offered in other webinars, but if you feel like the practitioner is truly in burnout, what is the first thing that they should be doing to help themselves? Do you have an advice for that?
I'd find somebody who can support you so that you're not just using your own mind to try to process something, because you can literally think something into any direction, right? So you can, write your list and here's a good argument for this and here's a good argument for this. So like use the power of connecting with another human that you trust that's not going to just tell you what you want to hear, but who is really safe and can hold space for you so that you can process like where you're at. Um, I will say that I have done it the hard way, where you get to burnout and then you just have to take a break, or it gets to the place where, none of the like red flags or the cues were honored. And then you have to like reevaluate, is this really what I want life to look like? And most of the time there's a place where there's beliefs that we have about what is necessary for us as far as being a woman, a man, somebody in the workforce, a mom, right? And we've got all of these beliefs and these kind of ideas that have been placed on us about how we have to operate in the world. So if you can have somebody who can challenge some of those and help you to create space in your life, because I kept trying to find time to go for walks or to dance or to, I don't know, have a conversation with my husband. And there just wasn't any space. And you cannot create anything new or add to the way that you fill up if there's no space in the schedule. So then it comes down to like, is it worth it to be so filled up all the time, or would it make more sense to evaluate how it could be different? Doesn't mean that it's easy, but there is always choice and there are always options.
Wonderful. I couldn't have pivoted that I mean, everything that you're saying, not only have other practitioners said, either they're nurses, they work in the emergency care, EMT, or dentist, vets, like there's so many people that work with animals or people during their most vulnerable spaces, and they're all saying the same thing that you are in a different way. And it's so helpful to hear it from you, because I know that you're connecting with some audience members that are scared or resistant, fearful even to say, but this is my norm and this is how I get my paycheck, and I'm worried to look for other options. And essentially, what I hear is that there are options. You just have to be open to it. I also love that you said talk to someone, because I've been preaching about therapists and counselors and all of that. But what I hear you saying is sometimes we can do some negative self-talk that is really damaging. And sometimes it's helpful to have what I call like a brain lawyer, which could be a friend, it could be a family member. It doesn't need to be someone that's clinician, but just to be able to kind of workflow that without just yourself could be valuable.
Yes, exactly. And that can look a lot of different ways. I think counselors are wonderful, but there's a lot of people who do, like what I said, threshold work, where you're at a pivotal point in your life and something needs to change, right? It's not even just that you want it to change. At this point, it needs to change, right? It's just not working, and the negative feedback is too high. And so something needs to change and you need support around it. So that needs to be somebody who can be really present for you and
Mhm.
can hold the space that like I completely understand how you feel. Let's talk about how we got here, and then let's talk about options, right? And a lot of times we again, it comes back to like the beliefs that we have received from other people or that we have adapted, right? Um and it's hard to let go of this is how it's supposed to be, or this is how I want it to look. But I tell people, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Mhm.
No matter what, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Where can we start with change, and how can we support at least creating a bridge or a pathway to where you want to go so that you're not looping
Mhm.
over and over again, but wanting it to be different than it is.
Mm. Difficult, helpful advice. I always have my guests leave us with words of inspiration, a quote, recommendation, advice. If you had to spill the beans, what would you say to us today?
I would say that trust that all that you need is there if you just widen your perspective enough in order to receive it. And that perspective, that information that can support can come from surprising places.
Thank you so much.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Ivory Raye, we will also put information on how people can reach out to you and stay connected. Thank you for your time today. Thank you all for watching. And as always, take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Lots of reflection. Ivory and I first met when she was working for residential life at university in the residence hall program that I was supervising. And she was always a strong student leader and someone that I knew was going to be an amazing doctor. And so it's so wonderful for me to see her thrive in her environment. But I will share some stories. Ivory and I have dealt with crises together. We've dealt with hurricanes and other tragedies that our students faced. And Ivory was always someone that remained calm, cool, and collected. She was always someone that really read the energy of the space and really dedicated her life and now her career into being holistic. And so I really appreciated having this conversation today. I also think that it led me to believe, can women specifically have it all? And I know that some people have challenged, you can have it all, just not all at the same time. I feel rejuvenated in speaking with Ivory today. Dr. Raye has kind of reaffirmed that you can have it all, but what you want might change and evolve. And so maybe you're someone that works in the hospital setting. And maybe you were okay with working those midnight shifts and not having breaks for lunch and you could push through. But now, 30 years later, things have changed for you. That's okay. I know that for me, when I was in higher education, I worked for one institution. And during that time, that 10 year, I decided to have a child. And what I was able to do after having that child changed because it's not what I wanted. And that didn't make me less of a practitioner. It just evolved. And I think we have the right to evolve. We have the right to say, this didn't bother my vicarious trauma before, but it does now. And we also have the right to say, this isn't what I wanted before, but I think it's what I want now. So, want to give you that grace to question yourself and what makes you happy, what makes you thrive, what your goals are, what your aspirations are, and make sure that you understand that I'm trying to present to you a bunch of different individuals in the medical profession to normalize that vicarious trauma impacts all of us, and that if anything, this is your reminder to take care of yourself. Thank you.